4 at 5. News 4 at 5:30 starts right now.
George, thank you. All new on News 4 at 5:30, putting the vaccine on the express track as dozens of states still struggle to contain the spread of the virus. Plus, we are getting answers to many of your questions about the new vaccine with an expert from one of Western New York's largest medical groups. And the man who police in Orleans County say started a fire that seriously damaged several homes last weekend. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us on News 4 at 5:30. Jackie is off tonight. I'm Christy Kern. Topping the news on News 4 at 5:30, a step in the right direction for Western New York. Today, Governor Andrew Cuomo said hospitalizations for COVID-19 are still rising, but at a slower rate than before. The latest numbers show 548 people are in hospitals in our 5-county region, which is Erie and Niagara counties and the southern tier. There are 122 patients receiving intensive care for COVID-19. The FDA is expected to approve Pfizer's coronavirus vaccine for emergency use after an advisory panel voted to endorse the drug, meaning the vaccine could be administered to healthcare workers and nursing home residents within just days. Chris Martinez reports from Los Angeles.
The FDA has informed Pfizer its regulators are working rapidly to approve the drug maker's vaccine for emergency use.
We could be seeing people getting vaccinated Monday, Tuesday of next week.
In a 17-4 vote with one abstention Thursday, an FDA advisory committee concluded the Pfizer vaccine is safe and effective for emergency use for those 16 and older, even with recent concerns about allergic reactions in 2 UK healthcare workers.
I voted yes enthusiastically.
Kendra Piot will be among the first to receive the COVID-19 vaccine once it's approved. The nurse manager in Grand Rapids, Michigan, says the shot represents peace of mind for those working on the front lines.
Having the vaccine for us is just the beginning to the end of this pandemic.
California is among the states dealing with a surge in COVID cases and hospitalizations. There are concerns here. The darkest days of the pandemic are yet to come. Dr. Erica Flores Uribe is an ER doctor at LA County USC.
We are doing everything that we can to make space, but everything has its limits.
Once the epicenter of the outbreak, New York City will end indoor dining beginning Monday due to rising infection rates.
We're about to walk into the Hanukkah surge and the Christmas surge.
Even with a vaccine, the nation's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says it could be months before things get back to normal. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And Dr. Anthony Fauci expects the nation to reach herd immunity by the fall of 2021. The U.S. recorded more than 3,100 deaths Wednesday, which is the highest one-day total so far. As Governor Andrew Cuomo is looking to open more places that are believed to be safer, Pennsylvania's governor is shutting more businesses down. Governor Tom Wolf ordered gyms and restaurants to close their indoor facilities. They can be open outside, which has some fitness centers in the Keystone States getting creative.
Really all about just delivering new ways to exercise, new ways to have fun exercising and get excited about something. And during this time of the year, it's so hard to be excited about anything because the weather's so bad.
People taking part in outdoor fitness classes in Pennsylvania must wear masks. Sporting events will be limited to the college and pro levels. Stocks recovered as Congress works to hammer out one more coronavirus relief package before the end of the year. Investors have been hoping for another financial lifeline for families, as well as businesses and governments that have been hit hard by the pandemic. The Dow closed up by about 47 points today. And as we take a live look over downtown Buffalo right now, another day that is closing up also here in Western New York in Buffalo because, Todd, it is December 11th, and we certainly saw temperatures that don't feel like it. Today's actually my mom's birthday, and she said, I was on the phone with her earlier, she said, I don't know if my birthday has ever been this warm.
Well, if she's anything like you, that's a pretty good gift.
Right,
I'd say.
absolutely,
So,
yeah,
I mean,
she
loves the warmth.
Likes the warm weather, yeah.
So it's a nice, sometimes it's a nice treat. I know it can make for tricky things for a lot of winter sports enthusiasts. I'm one of those, but I report it like I see it. So that was basically what we're expecting today, to see these warm numbers. Dansville really hit it out of the park with a 60. That was 16 degrees above average for Buffalo there. there with that 53. Right now, we're down to 47 at the airport. It's a little milder at UB North, Medina, Batavia, but we're basically tonight going to stay on the milder side of things. Like we did last night, having a lead-in of temperatures so far above average this time of year helps us get a little bit higher during the day. So 46 right now in Ellicottville. Pretty much all areas in the hills tonight should stay above freezing. Our next system is about 340 miles off to our west. We are going to see the clouds increasing, but I don't expect to see any rain at all until after sunrise tomorrow morning, and technically tomorrow afternoon will be really the better coverage. So we'll touch more on the weekend overall coming up. There are pretty mild overnight lows, and for those of you looking forward to one more mild day, we'll have one more tomorrow. Christy?
All right, Todd, thank you. Well, the COVID vaccine is brand new, just wrapping the approval process this week. So naturally, there are a lot of questions about it. Now, we asked you for some of your questions, and now we are bringing them to Dr. Peter Winkelstein. Dr. Winkelstein, thank you so much for joining us. So we appreciate it very much. You're the Chief Medical Informatics Officer at one of Western New York's largest medical groups, UBMD, joining us live via Zoom. Thank you so much for being here.
Very pleased to be here.
So we want to start with some viewer questions that we have. This first question is from Greg. He says he feels the vaccine might be rushed. So he says, given that, is it safe?
So in my opinion, the data on the vaccine is actually quite good. They did go fast, but I wouldn't use the term rushed. They went through the proper process. They went through all the FDA approvals, and they did not take shortcuts. So what I've seen makes me confident. I can tell you, when my turn comes for the vaccine, I'll be first in line. So I think it's safe.
We have another question from Julie. This one says, I have already recovered from COVID. Why would I need the vaccine? The illness gives you antibodies, and so does the vaccine. So why is the vaccine being pushed?
So the vaccine, most of the people, when we're talking about the vaccine, we're talking about vaccinating the vast majority of people who have not had COVID and so don't have antibodies. The question about what to do about people who are confident that they've had COVID is an interesting one. We don't yet know how long the immunity lasts, and it does seem that depending on how bad a case you had of COVID, that may have something to do with how many antibodies you have down the road and how long then immunity lasts. So it may be that for those patients, particularly those that had a mild case of COVID, that the vaccine makes sense. And it certainly makes sense if you only think you had COVID. Some people said, oh, I'm sure I had COVID, but they don't actually have a positive test or never done an antibody test. And for those people, I would strongly recommend the vaccine.
On a similar note, another viewer asked this question. It says, if I am vaccinated, can I still transmit the virus? In other words, should I still wear a mask?
So that's a great question, and we don't know yet is the answer to that question. We don't know if the vaccine provides enough immunity to actually shut your body down from being able to transmit the virus. We're quite confident the vaccine provides enough immunity to prevent you from getting a bad case of COVID, but we don't yet know if it will prevent you from transmitting the virus. So until we know more, and we're not going to know more until we start giving the vaccine and following up, which of course is exactly what we're doing, until we know more, my recommendation would be yes, please continue to wear a mask.
How does the vaccine impact women and children? And when we're talking about women, particularly pregnant women, I know there's not a lot of research about that so far.
There's the one of the things that we're obviously going to be looking at is how they have, as I recall, looked at effects on women of reproductive age, but that clearly is a concern. I do want to make one point of clarification in there, is that the vaccine is not for children yet. This is an adult vaccine. There are ongoing clinical trials for older children, for teenagers, and down the road, they'll work on the clinical trials that you need for the younger kids, the little kids, but that's a little ways down the road. So this vaccine is for adults only.
Another viewer sent us a question. She says that she has heard the vaccine can only last 6 to 12 months. Is that true? And also, similarly to that, is this a vaccine that we should expect to have to continue to get every so often?
So again, we don't know. Remember, the virus has only been around infecting humans for a year, just almost exactly a year now. So we don't have a lot of experience with how long does immunity last, and in particular, how long does vaccine immunity last? What's encouraging is that there aren't very many reports of people getting COVID twice. There are a few reports, but very few. So it does look like at least natural immunity lasts for, well, probably at least 6 months. That's about as long as we know right now with the virus. And our hope is and expectation is that the vaccine will be at least that good. Is it possible that you're going to need a booster shot every year or a booster shot every 10 years like you do for tetanus? It certainly is possible, but we're just not going to know until we follow it over a period of time.
Can you explain to us how exactly the vaccine works? I know it does not contain the live virus. Is that correct?
That's correct. This is not a live virus vaccine. The way this vaccine works, is actually takes a little piece of viral, the genome, which is actually RNA, not DNA of this virus, takes a piece of that genome that goes into some of the cells of the body that then generate what we call an antigen, which in this case is part of the spike protein, that then triggers the immune system to make antibodies to that protein. That protein is on the real virus, on the natural virus, so when the natural virus shows up, the antibodies are there and attack the virus.
What exactly will the experience be like for people getting the vaccine? As far as, will this be a similar experience to vaccines that we've gotten in the past?
As that's the case, it looks like, like many vaccines, some soreness afterwards. You may feel kind of, a little under the weather for a day or two. Those are the kinds of things that have been seen in the clinical trials. Obviously, we always worry about significant allergic reactions, which can happen with any vaccine, but are quite rare with most vaccines, and it appears there as well.
Okay, Dr. Peter Winkelstein, thank you so much from UBMD. Thank you for joining us on News 4 at 5:30 and filling us in on this very important conversation with a lot of questions that people have as we approach this vaccine. Thank you. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Well, straight ahead, we'll check back in with Chief Meteorologist Todd Santos for his weekend weather outlook. Plus, an arrest for house fires last weekend. We'll tell you one of the homeowners tells us how he knows the man who police have charged. And then coming up all new on News 4 at 6, a water alert for people in one Chautauqua County community. Our News 4's Melanie Orleans explains what's in the water and the reason there isn't a boil water order for Mayville.
Tonight on News Nation, a viral video sparking outrage after a youth coach